My name is Lena, and I am 28 years old, and I live in the city of Seattle in the state of Washington, where the rain never seems to stop. And the coffee is always hot enough to burn your tongue if you are not careful. I have always been the kind of person who follows the rules and works hard for everything I have because that is how my parents raised me to be in our small town before I moved to the big city to find a career in graphic design. I worked my way up from a junior designer to a senior position at a local marketing firm, and I felt like I was finally winning at life until I met Sarah, who would eventually become my best friend, and then the person who tried to destroy my entire world. Sarah was the kind of person who walked into a room and made everyone feel like they were the most important person in the world, even though she was really only thinking about herself. And I did not see that for a very long time because I was blinded by her charm. We met at a coffee shop where she accidentally spilled her latte on my shoes, and she was so apologetic and sweet that we ended up talking for 3 hours, and by the end of the week, we were hanging out every single day. When my old roommate moved out to get married, Sarah was looking for a place, and it seemed like the perfect solution because she was fun and energetic, and I thought I knew her better than anyone else in the city. We moved into a beautiful 2-bedroom apartment in the Capitol Hill neighborhood, which had big windows that looked out over the street. And for the first few months, everything was perfect because we would cook dinner together and watch old movies and talk about our dreams for the future. Sarah told me she was working as a freelance social media manager for several big brands, and she always seemed to have plenty of money for nice clothes and expensive dinners, so I never suspected that anything was wrong until things started to slowly disappear from our shared space. It started with small things like a bottle of my expensive shampoo or a container of my favorite Greek yogurt from the refrigerator. But I told myself it was no big deal because that is what friends do when they live together and share a life. Then it escalated to my favorite silk scarf going missing, and when I asked her about it, she looked me straight in the eyes with a confused expression and said she had never even seen it, which made me feel like I was losing my mind. A few weeks later, I noticed that $20 was missing from the emergency cash jar I kept in the kitchen drawer for the delivery driver or for small chores around the house. And when I mentioned it to Sarah, she suggested that maybe I had spent it and forgotten about it because I was working so hard and was probably very tired. This was the beginning of the gaslighting because she was making me doubt my own memory and my own eyes while she continued to take whatever she wanted from me without a second thought. I wanted to believe her because she was my best friend and we had so many good times together, like going on hikes in the mountains and trying new restaurants all over the city, but the pit in my stomach was growing larger every single day. The real trouble started when my grandmother passed away and left me a beautiful vintage gold ring with a small diamond in the center that had been in our family for 3 generations and was the most precious thing I owned. I kept it in a velvet box on my dresser, and one morning I went to put it on, and the box was completely empty, which caused me to have a full-blown panic attack because I knew I had put it back in the box the night before. I searched the entire apartment, and I was crying and throwing things around because I was so desperate to find it, and Sarah came into my room and held me while I sobbed and told me that we would find it together, and that maybe I had dropped it down the sink or misplaced it during my morning routine. She was so convincing and so kind that I actually thanked her for being such a good friend, even though deep down I knew that she was the only other person with access to my room, and the front door was always locked. I spent the next week feeling like a shell of a person because I felt like I was losing my grip on reality, and my work started to suffer because I could not concentrate on my designs, and my boss started to notice that I was making mistakes I had never made before. I decided to buy a small hidden camera that looked like a regular phone charger, and I plugged it in across from my dresser because I needed to know the truth even if the truth was going to break my heart into a million pieces. 2 days later, I came home from work and checked the footage on my laptop, and my heart stopped when I saw Sarah walk into my room with a neutral expression on her face and head straight for my jewelry box where she took a pair of pearl earrings I had received for my birthday. She did not look guilty or scared, but she looked like she was just picking up groceries from a store, and that was when I realized that Sarah was not my friend, but she was a predator who was using me for everything I was worth. I felt a cold anger wash over me that I had never felt before, and I wanted to run out into the living room and scream at her, until my lungs gave out, but I knew that she would just lie and manipulate her way out of it like she always did. I needed to be smart, and I needed to be patient if I was going to get my things back and make her pay for what she had done to me and my memories of my grandmother. I started to pay closer attention to her life, and I realized that she was not actually a freelance social media manager at all, because she never seemed to actually do any work, and she spent most of her day taking pictures of herself in my clothes and posting them on her social media pages like she was some kind of rich influencer. I did some digging on her laptop when she was in the shower, and I found out that she had been using my credit card information to buy thousands of followers and likes to make her profile look popular, so she could get free products from companies. My heart sank when I saw the balance on one of my credit cards that I rarely used and realized she had racked up over $5,000 in charges over the past 6 months, and I had not even noticed because I had set up automatic payments from my savings account. I was at my lowest point because I realized I had let a thief into my home and into my heart, and she had stolen my money and my precious family heirloom and my peace of mind, and I felt like a total fool for trusting her. I tried to talk to her one more time without revealing that I knew about the camera, and I told her that I was really struggling with money and that I might have to move out if I could not find my missing jewelry to sell it for rent. Sarah looked me in the eyes and said she was so sorry I was going through a hard time, but then she had the nerve to ask me if she could borrow another $50 for her phone bill because her clients were late on paying her, which made me want to throw up. That was the moment I decided that I was not just going to move out, but I was going to systematically destroy her life in the same way she had tried to destroy mine, because she deserved to feel the same fear and desperation that I was feeling. I started by doing research on how to catch a thief and how to report identity theft, and I realized that I had enough evidence with the video footage and the credit card statements to go to the police, but I wanted the revenge to be more poetic than just a simple arrest. I knew that Sarah's entire identity was built on the lie that she was a successful and wealthy influencer, and if I took that away from her, she would have nothing left to hide behind. I began to set a trap for her by creating a fake email account and pretending to be a high-end jewelry brand that wanted to collaborate with her on a big campaign that would pay her $10,000. I sent her a professional-looking email with a fake contract and told her that we were interested in her because of her sophisticated style and her large following, and I watched from the other room as she jumped up and down with joy when she read the message. I told her that in order to secure the contract, she needed to show us that she had access to high-end luxury items, and that she needed to film a video of her personal collection of jewelry and designer bags. I knew this would force her to reveal where she was hiding my grandmother's ring and my other stolen items, because she did not actually own anything of value herself, and she would be too greedy to pass up the chance for $10,000. For the next few days, I watched her on the hidden camera as she frantically searched the apartment for things to include in her video, and I saw her pull a small wooden box from the back of her closet that I had never seen before. She opened the box, and there was my grandmother's ring along with several other pieces of jewelry that I recognized from other friends of hers who had suddenly stopped talking to her over the past year. I realized then that I was not her first victim, and I certainly would not be her last if I did not stop her once. And for all so, I continued with my plan and told her that our brand representatives would be coming to Seattle to meet her in person and sign the final paperwork at a fancy hotel downtown. I told her that she needed to bring the jewelry with her so our photographers could take some preliminary shots, and she agreed immediately because she was blinded by the promise of money and fame. While she was busy preparing for her big meeting, I went to the police station with all of my evidence, including the video of her stealing the earrings and the records of the fraudulent charges on my credit card and the photos of the stolen items in her closet. I spoke to a detective who told me that they had been looking for someone matching her description for a series of thefts in other cities, and that I had just given them everything they needed to put her away for a long time. However, I asked the detective if he could help me with a specific plan to catch her in the act at the hotel, because I wanted her to be caught in front of everyone so she could never lie about it again. The detective agreed because it made their job easier to have a guaranteed location where she would have all the stolen property on her person at once. On the day of the meeting, I told Sarah that I had a big presentation at work and would be out late, so she would think the coast was clear for her to go to her big meeting without me asking any questions. I watched her get dressed in one of my favorite dresses and put on my grandmother's ring with a smug smile on her face, and I felt a sense of justice bubbling up inside me as she walked out the door. I followed her at a distance and met the detectives at the hotel where they were dressed in plain clothes and waiting in the lobby for my signal. Sarah was sitting at a table in the hotel bar looking like she was on top of the world and waiting for the fake brand representatives to arrive. But instead of a handsome executive, she was met by two police officers who asked to see her identification. I walked up to the table right as they were questioning her, and the look of pure terror on her face when she saw me was the most satisfying thing I have ever experienced in my entire life. She tried to act like she didn't know why they were there, and she even tried to tell them that I was a crazy stalker who was jealous of her success, but the detectives simply asked her where she got the ring she was wearing on her finger. She stumbled over her words and said it was a family heirloom, but I pulled out the original appraisal documents and photos of my grandmother wearing the ring that I had brought with me, and the silence that followed was deafening. The police arrested her right there in the middle of the crowded hotel bar, and as they led her away in handcuffs, she was screaming and crying and calling me every horrible name she could think of while people took videos on their phones. It was the ultimate public humiliation for someone who lived her life for the attention of strangers on the internet, and I knew that her reputation was ruined forever because those videos would be online by the end of the day. But I was not finished with my revenge yet, because I wanted to make sure she could never do this to anyone else ever again, and I wanted to recover every single penny she had stolen from me. I went back to the apartment and packed up all of her belongings, and I found more stolen items tucked away in the lining of her suitcases, including social security cards and credit cards belonging to at least 5 other women. I contacted each of those women and told them what had happened, and we all decided to file a joint lawsuit against her for the damages and the emotional distress she had caused us over the years. Sarah's parents, who lived in another state, were horrified when they found out what she had been doing, and they refused to pay for her bail or her legal fees because they were hardworking people who could not believe their daughter had turned into a criminal. Sarah ended up sitting in jail for months waiting for her trial because she had no money and no friends left to help her, and she eventually pleaded guilty to multiple counts of grand theft and identity fraud. She was sentenced to 5 years in prison and ordered to pay full restitution to all of her victims, which meant that all of her future earnings would be garnished until we were all paid back every cent. I moved out of that apartment and found a smaller studio where I could feel safe and secure, and I installed a top-of-the-line security system so I would never have to worry about someone breaking in or betraying my trust again. My boss was very understanding when I explained the situation, and he even gave me a week of paid time off to get my life back in order and clear my head of all the stress. I got my grandmother's ring back, and I never take it off now because it reminds me that I am strong and that I can protect myself from people who try to take advantage of my kindness. The resolution of the story is that I am finally at peace, and I have learned to be more careful about who I let into my inner circle, but I also learned that I have a strength inside me that I never knew existed. The unexpected twist came a few months later when I received a letter from the prison, and it was from Sarah, who was trying to apologize and ask for my forgiveness so she could feel better about herself. I did not even open the letter, but instead, I put it straight into the paper shredder, because I realized that she was still trying to manipulate me and that the best revenge was simply moving on and living a happy life without her in it. I am now 29 years old and I am still in Seattle, and I still love the rain and the coffee, but I also love the fact that I am no longer a victim. I have started a small side business, helping people protect their digital identities and their personal property, because I never want anyone to feel as helpless as I did when my best friend was robbing me blind. My life is not perfect, but it is mine, and it is honest, and that is more than Sarah will ever be able to say about hers, as she sits in a jail cell thinking about the choices she made. I sometimes walk past our old apartment in Capitol Hill, and I don't feel sad anymore, but I feel a sense of pride that I stood up for myself and fought back when someone tried to take everything away from me. The rain in Seattle doesn't seem so gloomy anymore because it feels like it washed away all the lies and the betrayal and left me with a fresh start and a clear path forward. I have new friends now who are kind and honest and who would never dream of taking something that didn't belong to them, and we go out to dinners, and we go on hikes, and I know that I can trust them because I have learned how to see the red flags that I ignored before. Sarah thought she was the smartest person in the room, but she forgot that a person who has nothing to lose is the most dangerous opponent of all, and I had lost everything, including my sense of security. Now, I have built a life that is stronger than ever, and I am the one who is truly successful, while she is just a cautionary tale that people tell when they talk about the dangers of trusting the wrong person. The ring on my finger sparkles in the light of the coffee shop where I sit today, and I am writing this story so that other people will know that they can survive betrayal, and they can come out on top if they are brave enough to stand up for themselves. My name is Lena, and I am a survivor and a warrior, and I will never let anyone steal my light or my joy ever again, because I know exactly what I am worth, and I know how to protect it with everything I have. The city of Seattle is big and busy, and sometimes it is easy to feel small, but I know that I am a force to be reckoned with, and I am proud of the woman I have become through all of this pain. I look out at the gray clouds, and I smile because I know that after the storm, there is always a new day, and my new day is brighter than I ever imagined it could be when I was crying on my bedroom floor over a missing ring. I have reclaimed my life and my story, and I am the one who gets to decide how it ends, and it ends with me being happy and free, while justice is served to the person who tried to break me. I am sitting in my favorite chair with a warm blanket and a book, and for the first time in a long time, I feel completely at home in my own skin and in my own home, and that is the greatest revenge of all. I have turned my pain into power and my betrayal into a lesson that has made me wiser and more resilient than I ever thought possible. I am Lena, and I am okay, and I am finally truly free from the shadow of the girl who thought she could steal my life without paying the price for her crimes. Every time I see a picture of a beautiful sunset or a mountain peak on social media, I am reminded that real life is so much more valuable than any fake image or any number of followers, and I am glad that I chose to live in reality instead of a lie. The sound of the rain against the window is like a lullaby that tells me everything is going to be all right, and that I am safe now, and that the world is a good place if you're willing to fight for what is right. I have a long career ahead of me and a lot of love to give to the right people, and I am excited to see what the future holds for me now that the past is finally where it belongs, which is far behind me. I will always remember the lessons I learned from Sarah, but I will never let them make me bitter or cold, because that would mean she won in the end, and I am the one who won this battle. I am standing tall, and I am moving forward with a heart that is full and a spirit that is unbroken, and that is the end of my story, but it is also the beginning of a whole new chapter that is going to be the best one yet. I am glad that I shared this because it helps me to let go of the last bits of anger and to embrace the peace that I have worked so hard to find in the middle of all the chaos and the hurt. I hope that anyone else going through something like this knows that they are not alone and that they have the power to change their situation and to seek justice for themselves, because everyone deserves to feel safe and respected in their own home. It took a lot of work and a lot of courage, but I can finally say that I am proud of myself, and I am proud of the way I handled the worst situation of my life with grace and with strength. The coffee in my mug is finally at the perfect temperature, and I take a sip and look out at the city I love, and I know that I am exactly where I am supposed to be, and that Sarah is exactly where she is supposed to be too. Justice is a powerful thing, and it doesn't always come in the way we expect it to, but when it does, it is a beautiful thing to witness and to experience firsthand. I am Lena, and this was my journey from being a victim to being a victor, and I am never going back to the way things were before because I am so much better now than I ever was back then. The silence of my apartment is a gift, and I cherish it every single day because it is the sound of peace and the sound of a life that is built on honesty and truth. I am ready for whatever comes next, and I know that I can handle it because I have already survived the worst, and I have come out on the other side stronger and smarter and more ready for the world than ever before. This is my life, and it is a good life, and I am going to make the most of every single moment that I have been given from now on. I close my eyes, and I can feel the weight of the gold ring on my finger, and it feels like a promise that I have kept to myself and to my family to always be a person of integrity and strength, no matter what happens. The end of this story is just the start of my real life, and I am so happy to be here to tell it to anyone who needs to hear that things can and will get better if you don't give up on yourself. I am Lena, and I am 28 years old, and I am living my best life in the beautiful rainy city of Seattle, and nothing can stop me now because I have already won the biggest fight of my life. My heart is light and my mind is clear, and I am ready to wake up tomorrow and do it all over again because life is a precious gift that I am not going to waste on people who don't deserve it. I have learned that true friendship is about trust and respect, and I will never settle for anything less than that ever again in my life. I am a survivor, and I am a warrior, and I am finally at home, and that is the most important thing of all. The sounds of the city are a constant reminder that life goes on, and that we can choose to grow from our experiences or be destroyed by them, and I have chosen to grow and to bloom even in the rain. I am Lena, and I am free, and that is the final word on this chapter of my life. I hope my story inspires someone else to find their own strength and to stand up for what is right even when it is hard and even when they are afraid. You are stronger than you think, and you deserve to be treated with kindness and honesty every single day of your life. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise, and don't let anyone steal your joy because it belongs to you and you alone. I am finished with the past, and I am walking into the future with my head held high and a smile on my face because I know that the best is yet to come for me. I am Lena, and I am happy, and I am home, and that is all I ever really wanted in the first place. The journey was long and it was hard, but it was worth it to get to where I am today, and I wouldn't change a single thing about it because it made me who I am today. I am a woman of strength and a woman of power, and I am ready for the world to see what I can do now that I am finally free. Seattle is a city of dreams, and I am finally living mine, and it feels amazing to be able to say that with total confidence and with a peaceful heart. I am Lena, and this is my truth, and it is a truth that has set me free to be the person I was always meant to be before I met Sarah. I am grateful for the lessons, and I am grateful for the strength, and I am grateful for the rain that washed it all away and gave me a fresh start in the city I love. I am Lena, and I am whole again.